There's a new fathead in town. Or is there? Come on! Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're tackling a new Fathead keto dough here in the year 2025 that is apparently an accidental discovery. But I have seen this everywhere and this is going to take just a second to explain. So if you're a member of any of the low carb or keto Facebook groups, you have probably seen this too. And it goes like this. There's a post with an interesting picture of a pizza that says, "I made an accidental discovery this evening. I left the eggs out of my Fathead pizza dough. Holy cow! It's more crispy and much more like a crust. Forget the eggs." And it goes on to tell you how to make basically Fathead dough without eggs in it. So I obviously saw the Keto Twins had done this as well. I was interested in like new Fathead dough, and I had also seen this posting around. So they made it, they loved it. Apparently it's a great idea. Why nobody has thought of this, I don't know. So just as an explanation of how things can kind of spread like wildfire across social media, this recipe is posted all over these Facebook groups, and if you just go in and type in accidental discovery, those words in the keyword, Fathead dough, I stopped counting at 60 of these posts. They all say the exact same thing. They're all posted with a different name by a different person. So there's some question about the validity of who came up with this, but I try to find out who did the original. So this is where the story gets interesting. So the Keto Twins, obviously they posted one that came from somebody named Ashley in a group called Keto Diet and Low Carb Recipes. If you go to that group, which I also am a member of, and you search for accidental discovery Fathead dough, they have 22 postings. One of them is even from the moderator from like a month ago. So I did a little more digging and I was able to find a post from somebody in a group called Diabetes 101 for Beginners by Lisa Borders is her name, and this was from January 21st of 2024, so a year and a half ago. And she says, "I found this in a keto group," and then she posts I made an accidental discovery. Holy cow! Right, so that's the earliest I could find it on Facebook. Now, I sort of remember back in the day there being I made an accidental discovery with Fathead dough with no eggs in it on Reddit years ago. And so I was able to find that from 7 years ago in the subreddit of keto recipes. And this person talks about making a Fathead dough without eggs, and it was an accident. And then they pointed to the original person, I do believe, as far as I can tell, and that is a guy named Carl Franklin, and he posted on July 31st of 2016 his recipe for Carl's Head Pizza, my riff on our beloved Fathead pizza dough. So we're gonna make both of those recipes today, the one that the Keto Twins tried in theirs with a little bit of a variation, and I'm gonna make Carl's original recipe. I'm gonna put links to all these down below. So that's a long story that became not too short, but let's get started on the first recipe. Come on. Okay, so let's get started on this first recipe. This is the accidental Fathead dough. This is what we've seen all over Facebook. This is what the Keto Twins tested a while back. I'm gonna make a little bit of adjustment here. We're gonna follow the recipe that was written and the Keto Twins tested, but I'm gonna take somebody's suggestion in the comments. I'll let you know what that is. Their recipe also makes 2 large pizzas or 3 medium-sized pizzas. I'm going to cut it in half, cutting the recipe in half because I don't need that many pizzas in the house, but it should work out the same. So their original recipe called for 4 ounces of cream cheese. We're going to use 2. I normally don't give recipe amounts, you know that, but this is so vague as to who actually owns all of this. So I'm just going to tell you so you don't have to go hunt it, but please go check out the Keto Twins. We love them. I'm going to leave a link to their channel here. So please absolutely go check them out. So we've got 2 ounces of cream cheese instead of the 4 ounces. And instead of 2 cups of shredded mozzarella, we're going to use 1 cup of shredded mozzarella. Now, here is where a little bit of a variant comes in. We would normally put this in the microwave and stir it frequently, right, to get this mixed up, and then we would add the almond flour to this. Several people in the comments mentioned just putting everything, including the almond flour, in the microwave, and you don't have to try to mix the two together at the end. It's much easier this way, and everybody's like, yes, that's the way I do it too. So we're going to test that now, just so we can see how that works out. So instead of 1 cup of almond flour in the original, we're cutting it in half. So I've got a 1/2 cup of almond flour. Sift, y'all. You know me, gonna sift this out just in case. You don't want any little lumps and bumps in there like you see right here. So get that out of there. And now we're gonna gently mix this together before it goes in, get out of the way, before it goes in the microwave. So this apparently makes it much easier and There is another variant on this that people just put all of these three ingredients in a food processor, whiz it up until it's all chopped up well, and they say it works fantastically. They don't even melt it at all. They just form that little ball and roll it out and make a pizza crust. So if you've done it that way, please leave a comment down below so I know how that works out. Cream cheese doesn't want to get mixed up real well, but that's where we go. All right, get off of there. All right, so this goes in for 1 to 2 minutes. You're going to do it in short bursts and short increments because you don't want it to burn. That will be a mess. So I'm going to do that now and stir this up, and I'll meet you back here when we're going to form this into a ball. All right? Be right back. Okay, so this has been about a minute. I've started at 30 seconds, and this looks pretty good. Again, remember this is half of the recipe, so we're only going to be making one pizza instead of two. Now this is where normally if you're making regular fathead dough, you got to figure out a way to work that raw egg into this. It's always a mess. Apparently this is just as good or even better. So I'm excited about that. So you make sure you kind of get it kneaded up pretty well. And then we're going to put this out on a piece of parchment paper. By the way, the oven has preheated to 425 degrees. You want to make sure that the oven is nice and hot before you start this so you can go right in. Hold on, get out of the way. And from here, we're just going to roll this out into a pizza shape. And if you have a pizza stone, by all means do it on that. But I'm just going to do it on a regular pan so that we all get the same results if you don't have that. So I'm going to use a rolling pin. And I've got my little bumpers on it so I can try to get it at the same thickness. Now theirs was really, really thin crust pizza. So I may take these bumpers off and try to get it to a little thinner size. Okay, so we are almost ready to go here. Now, just because they also wanted theirs to look beautiful like a pizzeria pizza, it's more of an oval, but I'm just going to take that off. Now, you would obviously want to try to reuse that. I'm just doing this for beauty's sake and to make sure we have a nice thumbnail. It's not circle, but it's oval and it's close. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to quickly flip this over just to loosen it up and make sure. Oh yeah. We're going to par bake this for 6 to 7 minutes before we add our toppings on. I'm going to do two things. I told you this is a variant. Two things that their commenters also suggested. One of them was to, when you take it out, flip it over so that, because they mentioned they wanted it a little crispier, flip it over, right? So don't just put the toppings on the top here even after you've par baked it. And the other one was a very interesting suggestion, and that was to, on your first bake, sprinkle lightly a little bit of grated Parmesan on top. And yes, I use bags, you know, just sue me. It's easiest. By all means, grate your own if you would like. And don't use the expensive stuff for cheap fathead pizza. It's just a waste of money. So I'm just going to pat this in. So their suggestion was to make it extra crispy, put a little parm on the top. We're going to bake it for 6 to 7 minutes, and then you're going to flip it over again for the final bake, and that Parmesan will be on the bottom and make a super crispy crust. So I'm going to put this in for 6 or 7 minutes. I'll come back, we'll add our toppings, and I'll meet you back here. But first, I want to give a huge thank you to the sponsor of this video, Graza. Graza is a producer of high-quality olive oils available at everyday prices. All of their oils are from a single type of olive from a single place, Jaén, Spain, and none of their oils are ever cut or diluted with any other type of oil or from an older harvest. All of their olives are picked from the harvest at the perfect time for the qualities of the oil they're trying to create. All of their oils also are in squeeze bottles, which not only are fancy and make it look kind of chefy when you're using them, but it also protects from light, and light is the enemy of the freshness of olive oil. So you've already know probably the first two that I've already mentioned several times, and that is their drizzle and their sizzle. Both of these are extra virgin olive oils. The drizzle oil is never to be used in heat at all. This should not be cooked. This is picked at the youngest part of the harvest where the olives are very vibrant and bright and tangy and fruity in flavor, and you let that shine through by never letting it hit heat. These are great for finishing salads, putting on top of fruit, putting on top of a steak, or even on top of ice cream. Yes, It is fantastic. Try it. The other oil that I've often used is the sizzle oil. This is produced later in the harvest when the olives are a little juicier, a little more ripe. They have a little bit less pungent flavor, and they're perfect for higher heat cooking that's everyday cooking like roasting or mild grilling. This is a great everyday olive oil. And their newest is called Frizzle. This is super high heat cooking up to a smoking point of about 490 degrees. And it is a very neutral flavor. It can be swapped out for the other things like you would be using like vegetable oil, canola oils, avocado oils. It's an easy swap for that. Going to be using this on the grill. Going to use it in a screaming hot pan of a cast iron skillet or a wok. And even in baking, it withstands the high heat of baking, and it has a very neutral flavor that doesn't interfere with your dishes. So right now, Graza has a great deal for you guys, especially if you want to try this trio set. Just use the QR code here on the screen, or there's a link in the video description below, and that'll let you get 10% off of your order if you use code LOWCARB10. So thank you, Graza, for sponsoring this video. It's sponsorships like yours that keep channels like mine on the air, and I'm super appreciative. Guys, be sure to click the link in the video description for your 10% off of the fantastic Graza trio. Okay, so our pizza is par baked. This was about 7 minutes. And from here, we will want to flip this over on another piece of parchment, right? So this was the change I'm making. We've got our Parmesan here on the top, which is now about to be the bottom. I'm gonna use that second piece of parchment that I've already dirtied up while we were rolling it out. And hopefully, can I flip this without slinging it all over the kitchen? Please, let's try. Boom! Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so from here, we're gonna add in some toppings. So I'm gonna add in a little bit of sauce. They use a slight amount of sauce. This is some Rayo's. So a thin layer of sauce, and I'm gonna spread this out. Okay, very rustic. And from here, we're going to add in a little bit of Italian seasoning. And you can put, obviously here, just go whatever you prefer, some garlic powder, some onion powder, because the toppings are just really whatever you so choose. We're going to add in a little bit of mozzarella cheese, and you don't want much. I mean, the pizza is basically just cheese in and of itself. You just want some brownings, and to make it look pretty and like a little pizza before you put your other toppings on. That looks perfectly fine. From here, we're going to add in some toppings, and everybody does pepperoni. We always do pepperoni on my channel too because it looks really good in the thumbnail and everybody loves pepperoni. But I went ahead and ground up some Italian sausage, and I let it drain really well and cool off. And I browned up a little bit, sauteed some fresh mushrooms and a tiny little bit of onion, sliced onion, or diced onion rather. Not much. And after I sauteed this, I let it sit in a little small sieve to drain, because I'm not trying to add water to this pizza. This goes back in the 425-degree oven for 7 to 9 minutes, and it comes out, and we're gonna cut it and taste it, and I'll let you know what we think, and then we'll make our second recipe, CARLSHEAD's original from 2016. But into the oven this goes. See you in just a second. All right, so we are back, and as you can see, this looks pretty darn good. This stayed in for about 8 minutes, said 7 to 9 minutes. We par baked it for about 7 minutes. So other people suggested also that you could just leave it in for the whole time, that there was no par baking needed, but I'm curious how this turned out with the parchment paper on the bottom. That's our oven preheating up to 500 degrees for our next recipe, the CARLSHEAD original. So that's going to be ready to go when we are. But now, what does it taste like? Let's talk about nutrition quickly. I'm not even going to give you nutrition for this because most of this stuff is all very low carb or zero net carbs. And truthfully, every bit of this is going to depend on the products you're using. Your brand of sauce, your brand of cheese, your brand of whatever toppings you're going to use, whether that's going to be pepperoni or sausage or whatever you're using. So work it out amongst yourselves to do the math. It's really easy to do. I'm going to say that this is probably 2 to 3 net carbs, but I know a lot of you are worried about the calories. That's where you're going to need to use your own brands of your own products to determine what you're working with. So let's cut this and let's see what we've got. Okay, so let's grab a piece of this. It's nice and thin. I can tell you that it's probably not as crispy as I wanted it. They mentioned that as well. Let's look at the bottom. Not pale, But if you did this on a pizza stone, that would absolutely crisp it up a little bit more. Some other people mentioned that you could also do it on a pan with holes in it, one of the ventilated pans, which I have, but I'm always worried about the cheese falling through. So let's pick this up and see what we've got. I put a lot of toppings on it. Mm-hmm. Okay, as you can expect, fantastic. We love fathead dough here for a lot of reasons. It lends itself to savory and sweet things. I can tell you I will probably not ever add the egg in unless it's something that needs to be risen and puffed and baked, like low carb cinnamon rolls that are made with keto fathead dough. Those are great, oddly made with obviously mozzarella cheese. They're fantastic. If you've not tried them, I'll leave a link up here for you to do so. Actually, it's over here. If I were doing this again, I would absolutely make everything the exact same way. I won't ever add the almond flour in again and try to mix that into the melted cheese. Just let that all melt in the microwave together. Super easy. Leave a comment below if you've done the trick with the food processor where you're not even melting it at all and you're just spreading out the processed flour and cheese. Let me know down below. And if you're at this point and you wanted this a little bit crispier, sort of like I do at this moment, throw you a non-stick skillet on the stove and put a couple of slices in there just for a few seconds and let that bottom crisp up. But as it is, either cook it on a little hotter pan, maybe preheat the pan, or on a pizza stone. But A+ about this accidental discovery, which we now know, I'm going to say belongs to Carl. So what is his name, Carl? Yeah. It belongs to Carl and his Carl's Head Pizza, which we're making now. And I'll see you right back after I clean up. All right, guys, so we are back and we're going to try our second recipe. This is what we're going to call Carl's Head Pizza, my riff on our beloved Fathead Pizza. This is what Carl Franklin posted on his blog, carlfranklin.net, back in July of 2016. So I'm going to say that that's probably one of the original recipes of fathead dough without an egg. And he actually points back and links back to the original fathead dough from, I believe, 2013, based on the documentary and all of that. So this seems really OG. So let's get started on his recipe. It's the same thing, really, just slightly different ratios. As I said, the oven is on 500 degrees, ready to go. And I'm going to give you the ingredients here. Just please also go to carlfranklin.net. A link will be here on the screen and below. It calls for 2 tablespoons of cream cheese. 2 tablespoons, Google tells me, is 1 ounce. So that's an ounce of cream cheese. We're going to do a cup and a half of shredded mozzarella cheese. And this is where we would melt this, like he said, in 15-second increments he called for, before we added in our almond flour. But I think it's safe to say, based on our last experience, that this adding it all together and just putting it in the microwave together seems so much easier, and I did not see any degradation in quality. In fact, it might have been even a little bit better. So I'm going to put in, this is 3/4 of a cup of almond flour. I'm going to sift this out. And it's so funny, in his description, he even said, he had made it a couple of times. He said, and now I'm using almond flour instead of almond meal. And those of you who have been doing keto and low carb back in the day, back in 10 years ago, we were talking about almond meal, not almond flour. And when we finally got blanched almond flour that was ground a little bit finer, everybody was all, agog about it because it was exciting and felt a little more like flour. All right, this is going in the microwave, 15 seconds at a pop, until I come out with a dough ball, and I'll be back and we'll meet you right back here, okay? And we said you want to let it cool just a bit, and then you want to kind of knead it with your hands. Okay, so we're ready here. He also does the same exact thing, presses this down to about 1 inch thick, he said, into a round, and then uses a parchment on top to get it into a 12-inch circle. He specifically says to play with the thickness, be careful with the thickness. If you get it too thin, it'll be like a cracker, which sort of was like what we just did with our last recipe. But I've got some bumpers on this that won't let me roll it any lower than that. So we'll see what we get. From here, he put some garlic salt, he said, on the top. Well, I don't have garlic salt really, but I do have some garlic pepper. And obviously you could add any of this to that other recipe as well, but I'm trying to follow Carl's recipes and honor his original intent. Okay, so this is going to go into the 500-degree oven for 2 to 4 minutes. You're going to lay the parchment down on the pizza stone. So he's preheated a pizza stone. Well, I don't have a pizza stone. I used to. It broke. So I have preheated that metal pan that we were already using. It's not scorching hot, but it has been in the oven for a few minutes. So I'm going to lift this up. This is going to go in for 2 to 4 minutes. I'll meet you right back here in just a bit. All right, that has been about 4.5 minutes here. It is ripping hot. So we're gonna flip this over. He calls for us to flip it over, just like on our other recipe. So let me figure out, this is nerve-wracking. And let me tell you what, this pan is hot, 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 hot. All right, not half bad. All right, this is a sauceless pizza, which is probably how he controls a lot of the carbohydrate count and also keeps it probably crispier and less soggy. He uses a little bit of olive oil, so I'm going to use a little bit of the drizzle olive oil here, and we're going to brush this on. Not much, you don't want to go too crazy, but olive oil on a pizza is pretty darn classic, even if this keto crust is not. So spread this out. From here, we're going to add in some cheese and the toppings, and not much cheese because, I mean, hello, it is all just cheese. And back in the oven, 5 to 8 minutes. I'll be back here. We'll slice it. We'll talk about it. I'll tell you what I think about old Carl's Head pizza, and I'll meet you right back here in just a bit. All right, guys, this was in for about 7 minutes in our super hot oven. And boy, there's a big difference in 500 degrees and 425, let me tell you. My question is, what does this taste like? Now, obviously we don't have a sauce on here, so you could probably use a sauce that you like and dip it in there if you want to, but let me get a piece of this. I'm just going to use my old greasy dirty plate from earlier. I'm going to get one of these. What does this look like? Let's see. What's the bottom look like? A little pale. You would have had better luck, like he said, with a baking stone probably. But again, you can always crisp this up later. Now it's super hot, so I'm probably going to burn my face off here. Let's see what it tastes like. I got to put it down because I can't pick it all up. Okay. What does it taste like? It's hot. That is very good. Oh no. Okay. I kind of like it without the sauce. As weird as I thought that would sound to me, you really taste the toppings. You don't get a lot of the sweet tomato flavor. Maybe dip it in there, but I really enjoy that with just the flavor of the olive oil and the sausage and the onions. Definitely a different flavor. This is also a fantastic recipe. Can't really tell a whole lot of difference. I like that this is a little bit thicker. I think if the other crust were a little bit thicker, it would have benefited from that. I may have rolled it out a little too thin. So experiment with that. But yeah, accidental discovery, Fathead dough without eggs. Yeah, it can be done, and it's fantastic. We love Fathead dough for a lot of reasons. I think a lot of us have gotten tired of it. This is a new spin on it, so I'm excited about that. Thank you for sure to the Keto Twins for bringing this back onto the scene here on YouTube. Thank you maybe to the 60 or 70 people that have all tried to claim that this was their own, with their own accidental discovery without actually saying where it came from. And thank you to, apparently, to Mr. Carl Franklin and his Carl's Head pizza. He seems to be one of the first ones that just sort of made a discovery just to leave the eggs out, and it works pretty well. So I don't think I'm going to be making a whole lot of changes to this. So, all right, guys, I say it every time. These videos are a way for me to maintain my low carb way of eating, and looking into that camera as often as I can helps keep me honest. So I appreciate that you guys have come along for the journey. I'm going to ask you to please visit all the links to the people that we've already talked about here. Go give carlfranklin.net some love. He's got some other keto recipes on there. I don't know if he still even does keto or updates his blog, but make him wonder where all the traffic's coming from. Hit me up on Facebook and Instagram. Just Highfalutin Low Carb at both of those places. I talk a little more more frequently in both of those places, so I invite you to join me there. Also, I'm going to ask you please to hit the like button down below, hit the subscribe and the bell button. Those are free to do. The most important things you can do to help the growth of the channel. Lets the YouTube algorithm know that this is a video that other people might like too, and it offers to share it with them. Thanks again to the sponsor of this video, Graza. Be sure to use the link in the video description below or the QR code on the screen. Use my code LOWCARB10 for 10% off of your first order. And lastly, I need to thank my rock stars. These are my Patreon members and my YouTube channel members. I'm going to start adding their names here. So you'll see them. They're already scrolling over here. Patreon, I call it the tip jar for the internet. It lets people like you who enjoy what people like me do here on YouTube. You can give $1 or $2 a month just to keep the train on the tracks. And since YouTube also introduced channel memberships, other people have been joining my channel in their memberships, and I'm putting their names here as well because their contributions absolutely help to keep things going. So appreciate all of you. You are my rock stars. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next video. And remember, today is a great day to have a great day. Bye-bye.